Azathoth. Out in the mindless void, the demon bore me, past the bright clusters of dimension space, till neither time nor matter stretched before me, but only chaos without form or place. Here the vast Lord of all in darkness muttered things he had dreamed but could not understand, while near him shapeless bat things flopped and fluttered in idiot vortices that ray streams fanned. They danced insanely to the high, thin whining of a cracked flute clutched in a monstrous paw, whence flow the aimless waves whose chance combining gives each frail cosmos its eternal law. I am his messenger, the demon said, as in contempt he struck his master's head.
Very good research, accurate but incomplete. The sorceress goes far back into the past with traces of tales predating Egypt. Yet even in the pantheon of Egyptian gods she can be found as the goddess Hathor, namely her title as the Witch of the West, as well as links to Cthulhu, Kal and an inscription upon a stone fountain that predates the flood of Noah 75,000 years ago. The inscription tells of a woman who was possessed by the same dark force that would later become known as the Demiurge. The sages sealed her away in the labyrinth prison and cursed her mortal body to wander inside, unable to die but not living either, ordered to trap the dark power by binding him to her. The entrance of this labyrinth is sealed with the fountain at the entrance, which sustains her with the waters of eternal youth. Another tale includes her being banished to the far western lands of exile to an island with a single tower upon it, the Tower of the Sea Hag. She lures any adventurer to come and rescue her as a damsel in distress. The hero follows the lore to the island, where he finds not a damsel but an ancient old crone who then devours the hero's life force over time like a succubus to sustain herself. She has been known to be fond of possessing young coming-of-age women who experience a series of identical events. First, the young girl will begin having night terrors of an old crone who comes in the night to try and suck the soul from her sleeping body. They usually experience this around the ages of 11 to 13 years old. Cases have stated that the victims begin to soon show signs of physical deterioration, much like sleep deprivation, sunken darkened eye sockets, pale complexion, clammy to the touch and overwhelming lethargic feelings. Then once the child experiences a first menstrual cycle, that physical symptoms are gone almost the following day. However, the child will suffer from what is stated as a severe change in personality to the point where friends and relatives do not recognize them. Personality is also the same with each case, as becoming very self-sustaining, prideful, and arrogant. The child will regress in private and become secretly obsessed with witchcraft and the occult lore. This progresses to a stage of severe promiscuity by the age of 16 years old, where after becoming known as an openly sexually curious woman, she will seek to become married as soon as possible, which never lasts for more than 3 months. Within the time, her husband, who is usually a man of money and power, dies of the same causes in every case. Food poisoning, the diet usually consisting of lethal doses of untraceable chemicals that is mixed in with her husband's meals. She will usually seek to inherit through whatever means necessary the husband's wealth, and immediately begin searching for another husband. Example of cases of the White Witch of Rose Hall, along with many others in the Caribbean during the 15th and 16th century. Another well-known legend linked to this sorceress is the Bell Witch during the early 1800s. This link is the best case, in which it details accounts of not a duality of two witches as usual, but more of the spectre of the old woman directly that has possessed many women throughout history. I theorize that this version of her came to the Americas before the colonists after her time as the Morrigan. It is said in legend that she had fallen in love with a Viking warrior king, but hid her true nature through illusion. After foreseeing a vision of his death, she attempted to alter his death and failed. She revealed her true form to him after thinking she had stopped the vision from coming true. Her old crone form shocked him as he stumbled over the cliffside to his death, just as her vision had foretold. Grief-stricken, she vanished in the flurry of crowd, never to be seen again. It is also rumored that her Viking love was none other than Odin himself. tales also coincide with this tale that state that the chrome part of the Morrigan's duality separated from the woman it was inhabiting and left the Irish Isles, leaving the unfreed spirit of the Morrigan, who afterward became one of the three spiritual guardians of the Celtic legend of the elemental incarnations, the Earth Spirit Gaia, as representing the sisterhood that encompasses the witch's belief in the power of three. That being the High Witch of the White Oak Magic, the Hit Witch of the Candle of the Black Flame, and the High Witch the Grey Sage of Balance. These three witches were, by Celtic law, the incarnations of the living life force of the earth. In principle they were the equivalent as Jesus was to God within the Trinity, or as I am to the entity they refer to as the devil. Living incarnations whose life force or soul was derived from the manifested deities of their respective entitlements. So after separating from this woman the entity of darkness, whom of which was originally crafted by the magical power of the Shankar stones. 3 of these 12 stones of immense power were crafted by a noble sage of the ancient world known as Malekith, under the instruction of his dark master Golgothus, the Dark One. These stones together gave the holder the power over time and space, and could even bend the fabrics of reality to the will of the holder. Dreams could become reality, one could cross the boundaries of dimensions and even control the rotation and elemental forces of nature. Malek used this power to bring forth an army of nightmarish creatures from the astral realm and laid siege to the old world, conquering the world in a matter of months. He imprisoned the council of sages in their mortal bodies that were made into dead servants known as the Archons. They were with principle similar to that of the Rock Kings in the Lord of the Rings saga. This war climaxed and is told through Hindu legends within the Rift Derby text known as the Battle of the Ten Kings, or in Babylonian legends found in the Epic of Ilgamesh, the Battle of Margan Shemet. As the legend goes, just before the flood of Nilla amidst a world torn by war of chaos, Mard, the son of Malek, rose up against his father with the conquered kingdoms as his allies, and the battle ended upon the what was once a huge mountain range that stretched from the southern shores of India all the way up to the middle of what is now China. The Himalayan mountains were once a part of this mountain range. Upon the cliffs of this mountain, Mard and Malek fought one-on-one until Mard became mortally wounded and with his last moments of life cast a spell that summoned his life force and offered it as a sacrifice, and jammed his life force energy between the surging power of the 3 stones, destroying one stone as it shattered to pieces and denying anyone from being able to hold such power ever again, also delivering a mortal wound to Malek in the confusion. With his dying breath, Malek called forth the liquid fire from the earth and gathered the waters of the seas, knowing the combining of these elements would create a cloud of poisonous mist that would surely kill everyone on the battlefield. Just then, however, the spit volcano called Mt. Toba erupted underneath their feet, swallowing the Demiurge, his son, and the stones for thousands of years. No one knew where the stones lay nor even how to reach them, except one, Golgothus, who as it turned out was not a spiritual entity but a projection of sorcerer thousands of years into the future, who had devised the entire scenario of events that wiped out the knowledge and culture of ancient magic so that he could wield its secrets in a time when magic was forgotten and unknown, making him a god among men in his era. The climatic battle and its conclusion completely wiped the world clean of all life, allowing Golgothus to remake the world and all that was in it in his image of a perfect world. Then he used this method to ensure the chain of events that led him to a place of power as he became the ruler of the world's first empire. Before he overthrew the king of Assyria in his era, Ashurbanipal, he guided himself from across time into India and allowed himself to uncover the stones from their unknown stone-sealed vault within the remains of Mt. Toba. The Rift Derby texts tell a story of a king who was instructed to take care of the stones buried in the sea off the shores of his kingdom. That one day 2 men would come knowing specific details of the stones and can explain their special abilities, even though no one had seen them until the day the Dark One came to the king's palace seeking the stones. With them in his control, he overthrew the capital of Ashur and crowned himself king of Assyria and ruler of the first empire of the world. So was the rise of Zarkon of Akkad. He did not stop there, though. Upon coronation as the king of Assyria, he revealed his claim to being the embodiment behind the entity of the one many cultures had come to know as Tet, the god of wisdom, an alter persona he had made in a quest to claim himself not only ruler of the world but a god among men. Which is why Tet is called the self-made god on earth. I know of these details because he and I are enemies, but more than that, I am also his past life. I will one day reincarnate as him after this life is done. Our conflict with each other lies in the fact that he has been an adversary against me since I was a child. Many different events in my life were manipulated by him for various reasons. He aligns against me because our conflict will one day lead to his death at my hands, as well as the design behind the fall of his empire. I realize that this conflict is most likely being caused by someone trying to take control of either his kingdom or the infinite wisdom of his previous incarnation, the one he refers to as the Ascended Master, who lives in a time not yet unfolded to him. I will handle that issue in its due time, but he represents a great obstacle that must be contained. He has already proven himself to be able to influence the events of my life, even from his era, through the objects such as the Emerald Tablets and the mystical connection that bridges his time limit to mine, known as the Halt of Many.
For years I have waited, concealed in darkness and shadow, amassing kindred spirits dedicated to my cause. 10 long years, haunted by one fateful memory. A grim recollection upon which I have focused my wrath and vengeance, giving me strength anew. The strength I require to rise from the ashes of the past, reborn as a creature of the night. We are Legion, for we are many, and in darkness we shall reign supreme.
Sunlit world of what he believes to be reality. But there is, unseen by most, an underworld, a place that is just as real, but not as brightly lit. A dark side.